These high schools are just absolute jungles. And so I could no way put a schedule and say, do this, do that. Wallahi, the best thing I can say is just fear Allah as much as you can. Fear Allah as much as you can. If that's your agenda, to fear Allah as much as you can, that will cover your gaze, it will cover how close you physically get to women, all these things. And in these high schools, wallahi, there's even no such thing as distance now between men and women. And sometimes you go to a school or something, give a khutbah, someone wants to come ask you a question, sister will get in your face. You move back, she comes close again. You move back, these things are all lost. So just fear Allah as much as you can. That's the best advice I can give you. Wallahu ta'ala alam. The question talks about music. Seems that this question always comes up when I'm in this masjid. Is it sin to listen to music? That's the first one. And the second one, how can a person remove the addiction to music? Of course, and yes, the answer is yes, it is, because it's something that's haram, and you're not supposed to be listening to it. The person the questioner used the general term music, so I'll assume he's talking about something that has instruments accompanied in it, and not poetry that's recited in a melodious way without drums and without any kind of instrument or anything that imitates the sound of an instrument. So if that's the case, then it is not permissible to listen to it, and it's sinful to listen to it. Then the second question, how can someone remove the addiction of music? I think it's something, and I'm just giving my personal opinion on a specific angle here. I think it's something that people become very accustomed to and very used to, but I don't believe you really get addicted to it, where it's so difficult to quit listening to music that you need, as I said, a patch to put on, and then, gradually decrease listening to music. There are many people who just stop listening to it because it's not something that you require so much. And even when you want to listen to a song, it's not such an intense craving. But of course, one of the ways you can stop, if you want to call it an addiction, is that you fill your heart with something that is the total opposite of music. And that is the Quran. I think everyone is very aware of that. The Quran is totally opposite of music. And the feeling you get from the Quran is totally the opposite of the feeling you get from music. And the effects of the Quran are also the opposite. Because the Quran, it calls you to good manners, to Haaya, to good deeds, to fear Allah, to having the feelings of taqwa. And music does always the opposite of that. Listening to anything with instruments and things of that sort, it doesn't bring you closer to Allah. It takes you in the other direction. And so you fill your heart with the Quran, it will push out the music. And it was the scholars used to say, since many years ago, they used to say that the two cannot be combined in the heart of the believer, either music or either Quran. So one way to push the music out is to listen to the Quran. The other way is, once you recognize that it's haram, that in itself will decrease from the enjoyment of listening to it. There's one story that I told yesterday, because the sister mentioned yesterday. There was one person, and he saw two people die in front of him. They were trying to get them to say La ilaha illallah, and those two people were singing. They were singing songs and lyrics from songs. He said from that day on, and then their songs, their voices started to get lower and lower until both of them died. So they'll meet Allah singing like this. The Prophet ﷺ said, you'll be resurrected doing what you were doing on this earth. They will be resurrected. Some people will be making, saying labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Some people will be making takbir, and some people will be singing. So he said, from that day on, every time I wanted to listen to music, I just imagined and I saw those two men, young men, not being able to say La ilaha illallah, dying in the stupors of death, just reciting these songs, these lyrics from songs. And I'm just going to do a quick exercise that we did yesterday, because a lot of times when you tell people this, that people, they listen to music and then they weren't able to say La ilaha illallah, they feel, well, that's not going to happen to me. I'm not that much into it, and I'll be able, inshallah, to say La ilaha illallah. So I mentioned this doctor in a Muslim country, and he's a religious person, we don't overpraise him. And he said that 36 people died in his hands, and he tried to get them to say La ilaha illallah. 36 people died in front of him. He would tell them, say La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. And he said, out of 36, only one young man was able to say La ilaha illallah. Everyone thinks they're going to say it and then, pass away and it's going to be romantic. No. He said, out of 36, only one person was able to say it. But yet people are so sure that they're going to be able to say it, and they're so sure they're not going to be singing when they die. So I'll give you this example. Just not that inshallah none of you will be from that group, but so we can be at least afraid of falling into that. When you've probably had a song stuck in your head before, right? So this dumb song, and it's a tune that you probably don't even like, it's stuck in your head all day. And you tell the brothers, yeah, I'm singing this thing all day, I'm trying to get this out of my head. It's some dumb song stuck in your head. You're awake and conscious, 100% awake and conscious, and you can't control this song coming to your mouth. So what happens when you're in the stupors of death? Stupors of death, it's like a drunken state. When you're in this state of death, when you're conscious, you can't stop it. What makes you think when you're in the stupors of death, you can prevent something like this, or one song that you love in the back of your head, coming to the tip of your mouth and coming to your tongue when you're in time of death? Also, people, we should all examine ourselves. What kinds of things roll out easily from our tongue? I mean, when you have a near accident or you drop something, it breaks. Do you say Subhanallah, Astaghfirullah, Bismillah? What naturally comes out of your tongue? And do you curse and do you damn when something falls? Do you say a bad word when something falls? So if the natural thing that flows out of your mouth, bad words, a curse when something happens, what makes you think that good words and La ilaha illallah will come out of your mouth when it's time for death? I'm only saying that we pray to Allah Azza wa Jalla. No one in this room is from that group, but I'm only saying that so we can recognize it could happen to us, and we should be afraid of it, and we should never be overconfident with our Iman and what we'll experience at time of death. We should always be afraid of that, and when you seek refuge in Allah from that and you're afraid of that, you can never enjoy listening to music, knowing that these lyrics can come, and this is how you will meet Allah on the day of Judgment. Allah Ta'ala A'lam. The Shaykh wants to add to that. طيب بارك الله فيكم for your attentive listening. صلى الله وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.